Well, there's some more encouraging news out there. The American people are continuing to wake up and come to the realization that the guy that they foolishly elected president is an absolute disaster. I know that people aren't waking up to this realization quickly enough. I mean, he really shouldn't have any support, given the things that this criminal has done since taking office 3 months ago, and the incompetent way, really, in which he has handled just about everything. This man, he's continuing the pattern that he did in the first term, which is he does something stupid. It has the opposite effect of that which he expected, because he's an idiot. And so he has to reverse course, but of course he'll never admit that he was wrong about anything. So he pretends that whatever he did was successful, problem solved, and then he undoes what he did and declares victory. This is what he did throughout his first term, and he's doing it now. There's so many examples already. The most recent one is now he's talking about walking back these tariffs on China. Now, he already walked back many of the tariffs on much of the rest of the world, although there's still a 10% tariff almost across the board. And even after having walked back those massive tariffs, we still have the highest level of tariff taxation that we have in like 100 years. But he did walk back a lot of those, and now he's walking back, or he's laying the rhetorical groundwork for walking back the tariffs on China. Because when he walked back those most of the tariffs, he actually doubled down on the tariffs on China, which I think are now up to like 145%, which is a disaster. It's a trade war with one of our biggest trading partners, and unlike Donald Trump, Xi Jinping is not an idiot, and he is not a coward and a bully in the way that Donald Trump is. This is not to heap praise on Xi Jinping, certainly not. But he's not a moron, and he is not allowing himself to be played like Donald Trump thought would be the case. He's standing up to him, and he's fighting back. And of course, now when you stand up to a bully, they invariably back down, and that's what Donald Trump is doing now with tariffs. But I've got an article here about a recent poll on Americans' views of the economy. Let me read a little of this to you. This is from Reuters. Americans elected President Donald Trump in hopes that he would fight inflation and boost the U.S. economy. But as he approaches his 100th day in office, they are giving the Republican poor marks for his handling of both. Just 37% of respondents to the 6-day poll that concluded on Monday approve of Trump's handling of the economy. Just 37%, down from 42% in the hours after his January 20th inauguration, when he promised to supercharge the economy and bring about a golden age of America. This 37% approval is well below that at any point in his first term, when it ranged from the mid-40s to the mid-50s. Of course, he inherited a good economy in his first term, which in some ways he screwed up, but then, COVID came along, and really his disastrous handling of that made it exponentially worse than it otherwise would have been. And then in the second term, of course, he once again inherited a good economy, the strongest in the world, that was moving on nearly all fronts in the right direction. And then he proceeded, through his incompetence, to destroy it in very short order. And now he is scrambling to undo the damage that he did for having been a moron. But, you know, his being a moron is not it's not episodic. It is who he is. And so we're going to see a repeated pattern of the same pattern we've seen. He's going to continue to do stupid things and then have to walk them back after the natural and disastrous consequences of his stupidity are apparent. Anyway, let me continue here. Quote, "You have a president who promised a golden age," said James Pethokoukis, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, a conservative think tank. "But everything that's supposed to be up is down, and everything that's supposed to be down is up." Certainly true. Pethokoukis said the economic warning signs put pressure on Trump to reverse course on tariffs, but that even if Trump caved, the economy might not quickly bounce back amid the chaos. Definitely will not. In a Reuters Ipsos poll conducted just after Trump's inauguration, some 55% of respondents said either inflation or the broader economy should be Trump's main focus in his first 100 days in office. 23% picked immigration. 3 months later, 3/4 of respondents in the latest poll said they worried a recession was coming. 3/4. That includes a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump. Now fear a recession is coming. We had positive and improving growth. Inflation was coming down. The economy was the strongest in the world, moving in the right direction. And now it's going in the opposite direction. And even these fools who thought that Donald Trump, because he played a successful businessman on TV and is still, you know, living off of that undeserved reputation, they thought that he would be good for the economy. And now 75% of respondents to this really large sample poll think that we're headed to recession. If only they had been warned. 3 months later, okay, 3/4, 56% of respondents, including 1 in 4 Republicans, said Trump's moves to shake up the economy are too erratic. 1 in 4 Republicans. Now, for any of you Trump supporters who are in the audience, 1 in 4 Republicans is 25% of Republicans think that Trump's handling of the economy is too erratic. 52% of respondents said they agreed with the statement, quote, "Trump's actions could make it harder for me to live comfortably when I retire." 52%. That's more than half for you Trump voters out there. This man is an unmitigated disaster. He is about as stupid as a human being can be and still function. And he proves this nearly every day. And so he is going to continue to make things worse. And the American people, I hope, will continue in greater numbers to wake up to the fact that this guy is an absolute disaster. And keep in mind, I know a lot of people are, seem to think that this man is more powerful politically than he actually is. He is weak. He is very weak. He is historically unpopular. He barely won in the popular vote. He won less than a majority, 49% of the popular vote. And he came in as the most unpopular incoming president in the history of polling. And he has only lost support every single day that he's been in office. And importantly, the loss of his support has been a slow erosion. And keep in mind too, all of this, the damage that he's done and his loss of support, we're only 3 months in. So I know a lot of you are upset because, his approval ratings are still higher than they should be, given the disaster that he is. And I agree. But polls tend to be lagging indicators. They lag behind events. So patience. And we're only 3 months in. And we live in a country in which a lot of the people do not pay any attention. They're oblivious to all this. They don't pay any attention. They don't understand how anything works. They couldn't care less. They only care about what affects them in their personal life. And really, the true impact of Trump's incompetence has not yet come to be felt in a real way by a lot of people, or certainly in a way in which causes them to blame Trump. But more and more that's beginning to happen. And so he will continue to see an erosion in his support. And really, that's better than seeing a precipitous drop in his support, because oftentimes you'll see a precipitous drop following some event, something stupid that a president does, some bad news or some scandal, and it'll cause a precipitous drop. But there's usually a rebound after that at some point in time. After the incident passes, people forget. But that's not what we're seeing here. We're not seeing a steep drop-off in his support. We're seeing a gradual erosion. Little by little, every day, more and more, he's losing support. And when you see an erosion in support like that, that loss of support tends to be much more enduring than a loss of support that is really precipitous. So I think there's a lot of good indications out there that the American people are waking up. And this is something that we can all do. Because people ask all the time, what can we do? What can we do? Well, the number one thing to do, the first thing to be able to combat Donald Trump and all he's trying to do, is to drive down his poll numbers. It does matter. It matters greatly. Not just to this regime, but more importantly to the Republican Party. Because Donald Trump, despite what many people worry, and despite the stupid shit they say, is not going to be on a ballot again. He is a lame duck. Some of you might not accept that, but he is. I tell you who does accept that. The Republican Party, elected Republicans. They know he's not going to be on a ballot again. They know he's a lame duck. And they're starting to think about their political futures post-Trump. And the more we drive his poll numbers down, the more that they will see Trump as a liability to them and their future. And that's where the erosion of his support among Republicans will begin to come into play. So what we can do is convince as many people that you know, in whatever way that you can, that this man is a disaster. And that's something we can all take part in trying to accomplish. So anyways, the man's a disaster, which is obviously bad for the country, but in being such a disaster, in being such an incompetent buffoon. Oh, and by the way, it's not in this article, but I read an article today where, he has had popular support, even in this second disastrous term, these last 3 months, on the issue of immigration. Even that is changing. According to a poll that I read earlier today, he's even now underwater on that. He's even losing support on immigration. Because I think, although these Republicans act like these kidnappings and renditions, what they refer to as deportations, but which are nothing of the sort, they're illegal, that this is actually a winning issue for Trump. I think it's starting to break through, that more and more people are understanding this for what it is. It's lawlessness, it's unconstitutional, it's dictatorial, it's tyrannical, it's evil. And I think that's in part one of the reasons why he's losing support even on the issue of immigration. He's underwater now on that issue, meaning more people disapprove of his handling of the immigration issue than approve. So things are going in the right direction in terms of eroding his support. So let's keep that up. I know people think that the laws of political gravity do not apply to Donald Trump, but they do. You know, we think this, I think, in large part because he got away with his crimes and got reelected. And so people think he's invincible. There's nothing, nobody can stop him from anything. And that's not true. He is still subject to the laws of political gravity. And so too are the Republicans, and they know this all too well. And we need to make them understand that their mindless support of this man and his flagrant violations of the Constitution and individual rights and of our laws, that's going to become a detriment to them and to their political futures. Anyways, just some good news on that front that I wanted to share. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll talk to you again soon.